of you, Dr. Balram, Director of Research, Greatest University, and all senior officers of this university. First of all, I would like to thank the University Director of Research, as well as this Professor Jayasankar Telangana Agriculture University, as well as the Hyderabad chapter of Indian Society of Soil Science, and all my faculty from the soil science for giving this opportunity to deliver this very, very important actually memorial lecture, sixth memorial lecture of Dr. B. Ramamurthy garu. I have planned this in such a way that Edaphic stresses are anyhow they are there, but at the same time when under climate change means there are several climatic variables or the climatic constraints they are there. But all these, if we go to the farmer's field, they are working in simultaneously in farmer field. Means multiple stresses. One is the Edaphic stresses, water stresses, atmosphere stresses. All they are working. All the farmer is facing them together actually simultaneously. Now, if we go to any area, it is not the one constraint or the one stress. It may be the soil stress with the atmosphere stress, or it may be the soil stress with the climatic stress like that, or the water stresses. So what I mean to say is that all these stresses interact together. If we manage actually in one single stress, we may not get that much expected results. That is why I have selected this topic so that we can also see what are the different Edaphic stresses at present country is facing and how they are interacting with the other stresses. That is the soil moisture stresses or the drought stresses or the atmosphere stresses, and how to manage them together if we want to overcome them and get our agriculture higher yields sustainable over the longer period of time. That is the topic I have selected. Of course, these are some of the topics I am going to cover. And this, of course, all of you know. Everybody is stress actually. It is under stress. It is, of course, abiotic. Abiotic means biotic are only three: pests, diseases, and weeds. Are leaving all the three. Any stress you name that comes under our abiotic stresses. So actually, mandate of institute is very, very broad. And if you stress actually any interference with the plant growth or the plant based on the environmental condition, that is the stress. And abiotic stresses means that is the mostly physical, chemical, environmental stresses that are going to affect adversely the plant growth and crop yields. They are called the abiotic stresses. And abiotic stresses, actually, if we see the literature, we found that crop yield loss up to 30%. By 2100, if we do not adopt any mitigation or the adaptation strategies, the loss in crop yield due to abiotic stresses may further increase by 10 to 40%. Actually, this is the importance. And other thing that if we see the global food security, nearly all soils, 90% of soils are facing one or other stresses. Edapology is the study of the soils in relation to the plant growth. Pedology is study of the soils and classification, genesis and like that. But edapology, it is in relation to the plant growth. So edaphic constraints means that are the soil stresses that are related soil related constraints that are affecting these crops adversely and reduce the plant fitness. This is the one. And that is why under keeping the climate change scenario, I am also going to discuss edaphic stresses with the other stresses. And if we see actually these edaphic stresses, soil stresses, they are basically classified into three types. One is the internal, external, anthropic. Internal, we can call them as the inherent. Whatever the soil constraints that are there, because of the soil genesis or the soil parent material related problems, they are called in the inherent soil problems. I don't want to go, all of you know this. Nutrient deficiency, excess soluble salt, salinity, alkalinity. Because of all these are because of the properties of the native properties of the soil. And external conditions, of course, this is because of external conditions like the environmental conditions, management conditions are like that. They are the climate control, extreme climate regimes, high and low temperature, water logging, nutrient leaching, global, all these, they cause the different, even pests and diseases, high termite population, they also sometimes they cause organic matter get decomposed, they may cause a low organic matter content and like that. They are called the external conditions because of the edaphic stresses due to external conditions. And anthropic activities because of the human activity. Whatever we are doing, means non-judicious use of the soils or the water, any pesticide, other things, that may also causes soil constraint. They are called the anthropic. Of course, some of these stresses are there, very, very difficult to classify them. They may be because of inherence, because of the human activity together also. That type of the concept, but broadly they are divided into these three classes. These also I don't want to go into details because all of you know. In wet-is-all means mostly black soils. When wet-is-all means these are some of the problems we play. Too wet or the too dry. That it is very, very difficult to work. If the very less moisture also very difficult to work. If little bit high moisture also very difficult to work. That is because they are the swell-string soils. This is a major constraint of the black soils like that. Wet-is-alls, insect-is-alls, ent-is-alls, arid-is-alls, or alph-is-alls. They cover almost 95% of even Indian soils. So I have listed some of the constraints faced by in each this. But it is there any textbook you can refer and all are available. All of us know that. What is that? Friedrich et al. 2008. They have identified almost 25 Edaphic stresses globally. And all these Edaphic stresses, 25, also are applicable to India also. If we see this, they have classified them into the 8 classes. Important of Edaphic stress, that is the soil moisture stress. This is the number 1 stress. Given the number, the ranks also 1, 2, 3 like that. You can see afterwards also. After this also, I will leave this presentation with the organizers, so they can circulate also, there is no problem. And they classified this into the 8 categories. 9th and 8th category means the risk level is more than 80%. And 7th and 6th means that is around 60%, like that. 5th is the 40 to 50%. And 1 is the best. Compared to this is the worst highly risk soils are that is the 11th and 9th group, like this. And almost all soils, even in India also, all of you know that nearly 51% of area, our cultivable area is under rainfed conditions. We are also having the major problem with the soil moisture stress, like that. These are available. And this is all of you know. If we go to the physical stresses, nearly 90 million hectares of our soils, our net cultivable area is the 141 million hectares. Out of 141, 90 million hectares of soils, they are having the facing one or other soil physical constraint. Physical constraint, you can see that shallow depth soil had an high permeability, subsurface or defense surface crusting or a temporary. In Telangana also, we know the red soils and black soils, all these problems, whatever we are facing. And of course, I'm not going to details of this. And they are there even distribution in the states also. And if we go to this available nutrient status, see, these are the actually I have given the trend also. First, actually that map developed in 1976 at IRI, and Subbaya and that Hassan, just now mentioned Subbaya sir also, Dr. Ganesh, he has mentioned about him. And he was also he also worked on the soil fertility evaluation only. And he has developed also one of the method, nitrogen method, Subbaya and Asiza, that available nitrogen method, that is also unique for India. Actually, it is not being followed by any other foreign country, and also foreigners not developed, completely our contribution. And in that also you can see, that is the contribution. And they have developed map in the 1976, then 2002, Motsara, he published one soil fertility map in, again, fertilizer news at that time. And 2011, Dr. Muralidharudu, of course, I was also the part of that development. That also we have collected the soil health card data from all over the state for the last 5 years, means 2011 previous 5 years, and we compiled that. If we see, these are, I'm not going to that, all of you know what is the percent of the soils deficient in the, and of course recently 2021, this All India Coordinated Research Project on micronutrients, sulfur and micronutrients, secondary and micronutrients and pollutants. They have published in scientific reports paper in 2021. They have given, actually, this is a recent map that is available. They use the soil test data of the 242,827 soil sample data they used for publishing this. According to that, sulfur is deficient in 58% of samples, zinc 51, boron 44, like that, iron 19, copper 11, and manganese 17% of the soils. So these are some of the examples. Only important is that I have worked out actually combinations, because if it is not possible, as I told, the multiple stresses, nowadays one nutrient is not deficient. Soils may be deficient in 1 or 2 or more than 2 also. That area also we have worked out. For example, sulfur and zinc, they are deficient together in 9.3% of Indian soils, like that. If we see that last one, zinc, iron, copper, manganese, all the 4 nutrients are deficient in 0.3% of soils, like that also I have shown. Actually, sulfur, zinc, boron, for example, 2.6% of the soils, like that. What I mean to say is that addressing one particular nutrient or the one constraint may not be helpful. That is why I worked out this type of the relationships. This is the again what we did at our institute, actually, for developing the fertility maps. 16 crore soil health data, 16 crore soil sample data is available in our Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Now, as on today, 22 are available, but we could take up the 16 crore soil test data and develop the maps. According to that, if organic carbon, you see, we have, of course, followed the nutrient reduction method, and that 54.5% of soils are low in organic carbon. If we see organic carbon and the nitrogen together, next map, that about 53% of soils, they are deficient in both organic carbon as well as the available nitrogen. That is like that. And medium, about 4.7, like this. Actually, I have also worked out the combinations of the nutrients, means there we should address both organic carbon as well as the available nitrogen. That is the purpose of developing this type of the maps. This, of course, like our using the soil test data, but there is a little bit difference. Improvement is there as compared to our previous 2011 soil fertility maps. These are the recent data. For example, in case of the phosphorus, nearly 9% of soils are high, and low percent of soils are low, only 39%. but that shifted to the medium level. Like that, some trends are available. You see, suppose that what is this available sulfur, that Shukla's map, whatever I presented, there actually it is given that nearly 42% of soils are low in sulfur. But according to here, actually it is coming down to 16.9%, but medium level is 32.8%. Actually, build-up is there. Phosphorus and sulfur is concerned, there is a build-up is there. And this is the important because here again I worked out the combinations. For example, here nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, zinc, boron. If we take the 5 nutrients together, they are deficient in 2.2% of soils. Next 6 nutrients in 1.3%. If we see there also nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, zinc, boron, 0.2%. Actually, we have separated out so that districts also separated, areas also separated, delineated. So that there, if we address means soil fertility means all these nutrients together we should address. That is the main purpose of developing this type of the soil fertility maps. Of course, this is the all of you know. Apart from that, soil degradation, degraded soils now total is agricultural soils 104.19 million hectares, 16.53 million hectares that is the forest soils, and if it together 120. But this map actually revised now. ICR is going to revise this 104 that is coming to now 80 million hectares. But I did not get that map because now reconciliation continuous meetings are being conducted at ICR level. Once that map comes, but a figure one worked out is the around 80 million hectares is now degraded soils. Because of our agriculture enter ICR, SAUs all over India, the contribution is that we degraded at least 20-24 million hectares of soils because of our efforts. Soil scientists, agronomists, environmental, whoever it may be, they have aggraded. We improved from degraded to the aggraded. That is the actually contribution nowadays. Our disease of whenever he speaks, he highlights that points. What is the contribution of soil science, agronomy, and other related means we can say this is the at least 24 million hectares of soils we have brought onto the cultivation, degraded to aggregate level. But that map is not yet finalized, so I have not used that data, whatever that is available. And another important globally or India also, if we see acidity, soil acid soils. In India, of course, we are having the soils which are having the pH less than 5.5. They are nearly 30 million hectares. But if we globally, if we see the major problem faced by the soils internationally. But here, not only acidity causes 2-3 things. All of you know. One is the aluminum, iron, manganese toxicity. Second is the reduction in the root growth. That reduction in the root growth also adversely affect the water absorption and the nutrient absorption. That is the one point because of the acidity and pH. But other thing is also that these 70% of acid soils are deficient in the phosphorus. So this combination is very, very important. And of course, Indian acid soils, if we see, they are also deficient in boron because Ranchi, that wherever Himachal Pradesh or the Jharkhand, and wherever they are there, even in Krat place that is called in Kerala. Our acid soils in Telangana, Karnataka, they are the moderate. Our pH is just around 6 to 6.5. But when we typical acidity below 5.5, they are there in Jharkhand as well as the Himachal Pradesh like that. They are facing all these type of the problems together. So we want to address means not only the acid acidity we manage, we should also manage other deficient nutrients like the phosphorus, boron. This is another stress. Of course, this also all of you know salt affected soil 6.73 million hectares. If you go to the CSIR Karnal website, if we open up their website, first comes the map only, arranged like that. That is a 6.73 million hectares. But only thing because of this increasing frequency of the climate change events such as the droughts, floods, cyclones, and the excess rainfall, etc., they are increasing the dryland salinity in dry areas, which comes under the mandate of our Kajri and the Krida, and secondary salinization in irrigated areas. And third, also coastal areas also a salinity due to the sea water intrusion. So all the 3 areas, they are facing the problem of salinity because of this climate change. This is another important thing. And of course, dryland agriculture, all of you know this. They are not only we popularly say, they are not only thirsty, but also hungry. They are like our irrigated agricultural soils. They are also deficient, dryland soil deficient in so many nutrients. This is the All India Coordinated Research Project on Dryland Agriculture Center results. They are available. They are also deficient in these different nutrients, their combinations also. Another important thing, climate variability, that is the heat wave. Because now heat stress is the major problem, but that is also adversely affect our soils. One is the soil degradation due to loss of organic matter. Whenever high temperatures are there, they cause the loss of because of the promotion of the decomposition that may leads to the loss of soil organic matter. And soil moisture loss, because of high temperature, evapotranspiration will be higher, loss will be more. It is also leading to the soil drought. And all these dryland soils, wherever heat stress is there, their on an average, their biological activity, if compared to the normal soils, that is the less by 25%. You know, biological activity is very, very important for our for any transformation in that process that takes place in the soil. So this is the heat wave. Heat wave generally, all of you know, heat wave means general IMD definition is that is the general they classify 40 degrees centigrade as the maximum average temperature for the plains. Hills is the 37 degrees centigrade. If that is heat stress classified into two, one is the heat stress normal, another is severe heat stress. Normal heat stress means that is the 4.5 to 6.4 degrees centigrade. Means that 40 degrees centigrade plus 4.5 to 6.4 degrees centigrade, that is the heat wave. And severe means it is the more than 6.4. So whenever that heat waves, now it is a major problem all over India. Nearly everywhere we are facing this problem. And because of that, but it's also adversely affect the already constrained soils, further increases the Edaphic stresses. Like that, this is also there, our cold waves. For example, nearly 30 million hectare of soils, they are affected by the cold waves. That cold waves also adversely affect that different temperature, nitrate concentration, nitrate transformations in the soils. And this, of course, that water logging. If you see the water logging, now November also, Maharashtra, for example, Beed district is there. I visited that along with the agriculture minister. Beed district normally a very low rainfall and drought area, but floods were there in the month of November. That so because of this climate change, that every year one or other placing either they are facing unseasonal rains, excess water, heat wave, cold wave, or the waterlogging, floods like that. Nearly 30.4 million hectares of the our land area that is prone to the floods. These floods also no need to tell. Waterlogging, flood causes waterlogging. All of redox potential, other things. I don't want to go into that. That may lead to the loss of nitrogen because of the denitrification and adversely affect the different this. And because of this, water also not only affect the nutrient transformations and availability, but also leads to the salinization because of the that redistribution and release of the salts in the soil. And this is another problem we are facing because of the that is also affecting. Actually, this slide is very, very important. What I mean to say is the Edaphic stresses as well as the climatic constraints and how they work together. Actually, that is very, very important. Generally, this Edaphic stress interactions and other constraints are the stresses like the atmospheric or the water, whatever I have shown. They are classified into the four different categories. One is the dominance of one stress over other. For example, drought is there. Nutrient deficiency is there. Actually, we should address first is drought. Both we should address, but drought is the very dominating. Because of that, actually, nutrient stress may be very negligible. We may not actually take care of that. But like that is the dominance. For example, second is the neutral or additive interactions. Additive means two or three stresses occur together. The total impact, adverse impact on the crop is more than their additive, means their individual totals. This is also most of the stresses comes under this. One stress present that potentiates the effect of the other stress. That is actually important of the important problem. And a third is the mitigating interactions. For example, mitigating means one stress sometimes helps in mitigating the other stress. That type of for example, one I have given here. What happens, for example, this drought is there. Drought should not be there. Drought is there. What happens? The plant growth is reduced, yield is reduced. But because of the reduced growth and yield, nutrient requirement will also be low. So even if your soils are low in nutrients also, sometimes we may get some yield. That is the type of the interaction that is having the mitigating interaction. And potentiating interaction also, it one presence of one stress potentiates, means enhances the adverse effect of other stress. That is there. For example, already I told that aluminum toxicity that increases the water stress. Even water substrate is there, but root, because of the root growth is affected, that cannot absorb that much, capture the water, like that potentiating. And dynamic equilibriums, here sometimes what happens, very rarely happens, when two stresses are there, first plant adjusts to one stress is mitigated, then it will take care of the other stress. But that type of the situation is very, very rare. Why I want to mention actually this stress is that particular students are there, other faculties there. If we don't understand the interaction, it is very, very difficult to address nowadays constraints or the stresses under changing climatic scenarios, because many are happening in all are these stresses together. That is why I have selected this. And if we see this effect of the impact of the climate change variables, that these are the climate change variables, whatever I told so far, elevated carbon dioxide, heat stress, or drought stress, soil degradation, flooding, or the UV radiation, what are there? All are enhancing adverse effect of the other stresses or potentiating, except that one, carbon dioxide, elevated carbon dioxide. But this also I will show, because except that blue line, all are having the potentiating, means they enhances the adverse effect of the other stresses, all these climate variables. Here, just I have shown from the literature, I have collected this data. For example, one only heat stress is there, but heat plus nutrient deficiency stress together, that is causing 14 to 27% higher yield reduction as compared to the only one stress, that is the heat stress. That is why the combination of the interactions are very, very important. We should address together. Like that, here also some examples for cold stress only. and cold stress with the solid stress when they associate, and that is causing more loss, that 15 to 34% as compared to 12 to 22%. Like that, here also cold plus nutrient is like that. Many examples, whatever that are available in the literature, I have brought together just to show the importance of combination of the stresses or the multiple stresses, impact of the multiple stresses. Here also some of the examples are there. And this I am mentioning that among the climate variable, carbon dioxide elevation is sometimes beneficial. For example, that graph is there. Vanaja, actually just recently retired from the CRIDA. She was having that facility. We conducted that experiment. I am also part of that. If we see elevated temperature is this, as compared to ambient temperature, elevated temperature definitely causes the reduction in the groundnut yield of all the four varieties. What is that? Narayani, Dharani, K6, K9. But when carbon dioxide is there along with the elevated temperature, somehow that compensated the adverse effect of the heat. But still it is lower than the yield of the our ambient temperature. So this here actually what I mean to say is that elevated temperature may cause a lot of loss, but if elevated carbon dioxide, they are they reduce the loss, but overall loss is the less than ambient temperature only. But if we after studying this, I have collected this graph, extent of this benefit of the carbon dioxide. They did a very good paper. Actually, anybody is interested, you can read that. Node et al. 2005. Out of 10 soil orders, they did meta-analysis. Out of 10 soil orders, in only 2 soil orders, they found that beneficial effect of the carbon dioxide. And other remaining 8 soil orders, which are constituting almost 83% of global soils, that beneficial effect is not there. So even we are thinking that there is elevated carbon dioxide sometimes may help, but that benefit is not there in 8 soil orders. Again, that depends upon so many factors: soil type, soil properties, soil edaphic stresses, like that. And of course, this is also one of the what edaphic stresses, the number of edaphic stresses as well as the extent of the stress. That is 25% threshold level, 50% or the 75% of the threshold levels. That what is the effect of this on soil ecosystem services? Nowadays, all of you know, everybody speaks on soil ecosystem services in general. What from these both slides, what I found is that this Reiling and et al. They found that increasing number of stresses are the increasing the threshold level of stress. That soil ecosystem function, they are reduced actually. This is the one of the thing that they found. And another is very, very important is that all of us know actually we are assessing the only individual stresses: soil fertility stress, atmospheric stress, and the heat stress. Assessing the impact of one stress in the presence of other stresses. Actually, that type of data is lacking. Most of the model studies, if you see, they select 1 or 2 only. For example, even I come to our Ramamurthy Saab's fertilizer prescription equations. There most of the times we only did nutrients. For example, one targeted equation means that is the nitrogen, other is the phosphorus, other is the potassium. Of course, we have considered sources. Fertilizers also we considered, soil source is considered, manure source, biofertilizer also. The combinations of that is coming. But now individually we work like that. May not we achieve are the higher yields or the sustainable higher yields. That is the thing. Actually, now we should change our overlook. We should address 2 to 3 or the more than 3 stresses together. That is the thing. Of course, I am not going to details here, very clearly written. This meta-analysis, there are the 2 models are there. The one is the Liebig's law. Of course, our Dr. Ramamurthy Saab's work also based on the Liebig's law only, modified, that is Trug and others, they modified that work. And another is this MLH model is there, multiple limitation hypothesis. Actually, these the 2 are the what we call empirical models. But nowadays, under presence of the multiple stresses, they are not 80% of cases, they are not able to predict the impact of this stress on the future crop yields. That is why now what we are doing is that we should go for hybrid modeling, which combines the mechanistic and the data driven, that is the empirical models using modern tools like the AI, ML, machine learning. So many IoT are coming. We should go for that. Actually, individual models now may not work. And of course, now coming to the how to manage this edaphic stress interaction with the other interactions, we should go for one is, of course, all of us know that nowadays multiple climate resilient varieties are there, which are tolerant to multiple stresses. One is the first, that is the first one, even though it is not our soil science agronomy work, but plant breeders, physiologists, they should give the first solution actually. We are managers, and if they give, madam is there, of course, breeder only. Breeder, that first should come from the breeders. We can take the management of our resources, soil resource, fertilizer resource, and all other resources. And second is that managing multiple stress interaction by adoption of the sustainable soil management practices. Sustainable soil management practices means 2-3 points are very important. That should enhance the adaptation and mitigation capacity of the soil. It is not that fertilizer nitrogen deficient means we are applying nitrogen, urea. That may not take care of the sustainable, because sustainable soil management practices, soil can be sustainable only when it is rich in organic matter and it enhances the soil water storage capacity. Of course, other parameters of fertility important, but these two, three things are very, very important, which can also improve the organic matter soil structure. They are called the sustainable soil management practices. And combination of the nutrients and sustainable soil management practices, if we adopt, then we can manage this type of the multiple stresses. Of course, there are so many things, technologies are there. I am not going to detail, because if we collect that, even within our AG college, here only our science and department, so many technologies we have developed, because soil physical constants project earlier was there, now it is not there. Ramasubba Reddy Sahab was at that time. Your DS Reddy, he was the thing. Many are there, but a few examples. These are some of the soil parameters which can enhance that, which determines the adaptation, mitigation, and resilience of the soils. I mentioned already, controlling soil erosion, soil carbon sequestration, improvement in soil structure, organic matter, like this. And they are the technologies which are generally normally we found them as the sustainable soil management practices, like the conservation agriculture, soil test based integrated nutrient management, tank silt application, resource conservation technologies, organic farming, biochar application. These are the technologies. It not only affects the one soil fertility, but overall it affects the soil, starting from the organic matter, nutrient management, as well as the water availability structure, like that. So these are some of the sustainable soil management practices which we can take. Actually, in India also, breeders and of course physiologists, I do not know how many are there. We did lot of work. Even I presented once this slide to Mahamatra Saab also when he was the DG. We are very lot work is not at all there on root constants. Actually, root what we call root traits. Most of the time we will work only on the yield and other parameters. But nowadays under the changing climate, if any crop should face these multiple stresses, we should go for the actually root traits breeding, or the whatever that is based on the root traits. If we select actually some of the roots like the deeper roots, for example, a plant, example is given, cheap root. It can absorb the nitrogen which is leached into the subsoils along with the topsoil, but also it can also absorb the water. And like that, if we have the combination of the topsoil forage and the deep root system, it can absorb water and nutrients from the both. Even it get leached also from the deeper layers as well as the surface layers, if that is there. So this type of the actually breeding work and that we should develop. But in this, of course, in India, not only this university, even ICR system is also, because studying roots is very very difficult work. That is why very less work is available. Of course, some of this multiple, we have actually, anybody, if you are interested, you can refer. One book is there on our website. We uploaded this multiple stress tolerant varieties for major crops. We compiled from different literature from all over our NER system, and we have uploaded on that. Like that, we are not talked about the one stress. We always talk, at our institute, we always talk about the multiple stresses. And this type of the compilation is available. If anybody are interested, you can see. And of course, this is the one of the slide. Actually, I want to mention about our contribution. When our institute is established, actually, we were allotted 150 acres land. 150 acres land is that we were given a hillock. This is the basaltic, rocky terrain. There, this was the original picture actually. Hillock. And one first committee, they gave the report that it is not suitable for institute. But Pawar Saab, at that time was the agriculture minister, told, he considered another committee, he told, this is the only land available for your institute. Otherwise, actually, it is the wild animals, snakes and other things were there. That type of land is given. And first contribution, he told, you are the soil scientist and the abiotic stress. First, you solve this problem, then you can take your research to the other stresses, like that. He told, he insisted at that time. Of course, Ayappan Saab was there at that time, DZ, and I accepted. I'm thankful to my predecessors. This is the degraded land. Now, this type of land, we are arriving to the extent of 26 million hectares in India. And if we adopt this technology, in very popular among the farmers. Now, farmers, they are arriving wasteland, they are scrapping and using that, whatever that land is there, using this technology for cultivation. We followed, actually, they followed like the ripping, chaining, blasting, even blasted also. And so many steps followed, application of paint wash, application of, what we did is first, actually, there is a chaining they did. Then they blasted. After blasting, that rocks come out, the stones. The stones are the basaltic rock. It is a weak rock actually, which we can pulverize. That pulverized and transform into a moram soil, which cannot be pulverized hard rocks. They have taken out and used for the road and the building construction. There and wherever the deep-rooted plant is there, for example, orchard plant is there. There we did a 1 meter deep hole by blasting, otherwise and pulverizing the soil. And that is mixed with the organic matter, then established. Now our campus is like that. A single place, even 1 square meter is not vacant. Every land either occupied with the building or the land. So if we convert these degraded lands, they are the source of carbon dioxide actually, all of you know. If we follow Maharashtra, this technology became very popular actually. Now they are following everywhere. And of course, this is another thing I want to mention is that one is the
Waterlogging is a very common problem in Vetisal area, particularly Madhya Pradesh, Soyabin state, as well as Maharashtra. If we put together this, also their soils are deficient in the 5 nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, zinc, 4 nutrients. If we address together, that one BBF, all of you know, broadbed furrow plus balanced nutrition by applying these deficient nutrients, we got even yield up to 37 quintals of soybean. National average is now only 11 quintals. This previous graph you see that 37 quintals also got. We nearly 19 farmers, we got more than 25 quintals per hectare yield. Combination of these things. So I want to mention is that if you want to mention this waterlogging as well as the deficiency nutrients, we should go for this combination of the technologies like the BBF and the balanced fertilization. These are conservation agriculture. All of you know, I don't want to go into this work done by Krida. Of course, this was done work done at our institute for the sugarcane system. Only thing I want to make wherever conservation agriculture should be stuck, of course, our agriculture engineers are there. These 5 points, we should take them together. Suitable farm implement, nutrient and water management, residue management, soil moisture management, weed management, pest management. And we have given all this actually in our technology that is recently, we are commercializing also that machine. And also is certified by the ICR, this technology, but is in that we address all this together. Machine is also there, weed management is there, fertilizer management is there, water management, everything is there. Some conservation agriculture, we should always popularize as a package which are addressing these 5-6 components. And of course, organic farming world over, actually, this very good article, Nigli et al. If we see, organic farming, except only one negative is there. Organic farming, actually, yield reduction is there as compared to the normal, but all other sustainable soil management properties, they improve. So here, actually, depending upon our convenience, depending upon our interest, we can adapt. So if we want to forego some yield during the year's MIPS, we can go for the organic farming as a very good practice. And acid soils, I don't want to go into details. Very good package of practices developed by ICR system. It was a network project headed by then ADG Dr. P.D. Sharma, involving many institutes like the Ranchi, Himachal Pradesh, and other Bhubaneswar, like that, wherever acid soils are there. They found that this because it is very, very costly. If we want to go to that, all of you know, shoemaker method is the lime requirement. Based on the pH, if you want to bring the pH of below 5.5 to a neutral level, 6.5 to 7.5, lot of liming material is required. It is very costly process. That is why it is not becoming popular. But what they did is alternatively, don't go for the complete reclamation. You can go for the amelioration, means minimum quantity for 4-5 quintals of the lime you apply. Along with that, whatever the deficient nutrients are there, then if you supply that, we can mitigate temporarily and get the good yields of the crops. That is what they did. Also, earlier we used to supply just by broadcasting, but they suggested along with balanced fertilization, lower rate of lime with furrow application. So there is a package they have given. Still, this has become popular. Actually, there is no improvement after this. Like that, here also some of the examples are there. I don't want to go into this. All of you know sustainable management practices and soil water conservation measures, Krida, they are available. And only thing I want to mention, all these we should use the all in combination instead of one. Here actually just how to address, for example, in future, all of us know technologies are there, combinations also there. But how to popularize among the farmers, that is very, very important. What we are suggesting in our institute is that we should develop the multiple stress alleviate technology capsules, that group of the technologies in the form of a capsule. That is starting from the multiple stress tolerant variety, sustainable soil management practices, soil and water conservation practice, even farm machinery and contingency plans. If we put together, depending on a particular district or the block, what are based on the multiple stresses that are faced, if then we popularize, we can manage this. And second is that at present, our institute, what we are doing is that, of course, salinity individual maps are there, I have shown. What we are developing a multiple abiotic stress maps. Means we are considering soil constraints, atmospheric constraints, other constraints, putting it together. We are developing, for example, just we started after my joining, we started this. One Pune district as a model, pilot basis we have developed. For example, this Pune district, we see they have given actually that low, medium, high abiotic stresses. In this, we consider soil stresses, otherwise the atmospheric stresses, even water stresses also. If we develop such maps, this is for Western Maharashtra. Western Maharashtra also, we have classified them into the very low, moderate, high, very high stress levels, abiotic stress levels. These are the multiple stresses. If you know, different also given. Drought is considered, heavy rainfall is considered, heat wave is considered, along with our soil edaphic stresses. So together we are now developing the maps. This we will extend to our at least arid, semi-arid India. And if we, after developing such technologies and maps, if we put them together, we can popularize among the farmers. Of course, for extension department, other departments, it's easy. Like that, we are working. Here, actually, I already mentioned Ramamurthy Saab's contribution. At that time, actually, he addressed only fertility level. But now soil fertility is facing along with the other combinations, other stresses. Now we should work together. In thesis, at least I have seen one thesis recently, Madhavi students also thesis where she worked with the drip irrigation. Equations for drip irrigation they developed. And we should also develop that equations in the presence of drought, in the absence of drought, in the limited moisture conditions, along with the sufficient moisture conditions. If we develop these targeted yield equations, then they will be useful in the era of the multiple stresses when we are facing now. That is important because single only set fertility addressing it is not correct now. I'm thankful to all of you. One is PJT Hyderabad, of course, the director of research is there, and Hyderabad chapter, all the members of Indian Institute of Science Hyderabad chapter, and all participants for your patience, and I pay very respectable tributes to our role model, Dr. B. Ramamurthy Garu. Thank you very much.